Greetings, my name is Lucas Miller and I am going to be presenting my Domain Security Analyzer today. This is the capstone project for my cybersecurity degree at the University of West Florida. It is the first of a two-part project. Today I will be discussing the design and requirements for the Security Analyzer. First, we'll start off with a little bit of the project background and some of the details about the project. In a recent CompTIA study, they found that 80% of companies surveyed thought that their networks and infrastructure were secure. But of those 80%, only 13% had actually run any kind of automated security test or penetration testing within the last 2 years. In order to keep their network secure, regular penetration testing is necessary. You do need to keep up with that. The security landscape obviously is always changing, and new threats are arriving every day. So in order to keep your network secure and up to date, regular security audits are necessary. With security professionals today, they are running security tests and security audits on web domains, but they're often constrained to strict timelines. The tests are often run around a business's working hours and are tightly constrained by contracts. However, hackers, they don't abide by these. They're obviously they're just going to attack until they can get in or until they can compromise the website. With a security auditor or a penetration tester, efficient use of their time is critical. So anytime we can help them in that, they're definitely going to be more efficient. This project intends to automate certain tasks that penetration testers or security auditors would otherwise have to manually do to help them in their end goal of testing a domain or a website. And this will allow them to not focus on those mundane tasks, but focus on other tasks that do require the eyes of a trained security professional to perform. A little bit about project motivation, what led me to choose this project. I don't have an official client for this. My client is the instructor of the course, Dr. Donna Lohr, and I was the one who came up with the idea for the project and the requirements, and she is serving as the client that's signing off on this project. I work as a web developer for an academic institution developing web applications for large-scale student body populations, and I do work regularly with applications that do deal with sensitive information such as credit cards or student details, which is one of the reasons why I ended up going for a cybersecurity degree. When determining what kind of project I was going to be embarking on for my master's degree, I wanted something that would marry these two fields together, one that would take my experience from my job as a web developer, but also apply the different concepts that I was learning through my studies into this capstone project. And therefore I came up with the idea to do this web security analyzer to not only reinforce the concepts that I learned through my studies, but also prepare me for my future career. So let's go over some of the project requirements. These are the items that are going to be deliverables in the final software project. First, the Web Security Analyzer is going to build a sitemap for use in security analysis. And what this means is we'll have a web crawler go through all the available links and build out what exactly the sitemap looks like for all links that are publicly available. Next, the project will intend to provide a web application tool that will list all the security settings for the target domain and pull all the SSL or TLS and security certificate settings. Finally, the project will provide the tool to analyze a target domain for common security flaws. And for the scope of this project, we are going to be looking for SQL injection and cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. So the first requirement is the domain sitemap. Now, as we discussed, this will be using a web crawler to go through from the root web page through all the available links through that web domain, and then build a visual sitemap to be used as a tool for the penetration tester to understand the scope of the project that they are attempting to penetrate or do a security audit on. It will be implemented using an open source C# crawler. This C# crawler will take the low-level details such as multi-threading, HTTP requests, schedule, link parsing, things of that nature, and allow this application to be abstracted away from those details and instead focus on building out the sitemap as we discussed and putting it in a visual format to allow the security auditor to use it for other tasks. It can be time consuming for larger websites just due to the nature of how all the cross-back linking can occur. That is one of the risks with this project that will have to be addressed, that the crawler doesn't get caught in any kind of infinite loop, that it does register when it has visited a website before and builds out an appropriate sitemap. It is meant to be an aid to penetration testers to see what kind of scope that they're dealing with that project domain and what exactly they're going to be dealing with as they test the product. The second requirement is web server security settings. This requirement will have the software probe the web server to determine what their security settings are, primarily TLS and SSL settings. It'll also pull down any details about the certificate and the trust settings, and if it was properly installed. And based on those settings, it will be able to identify risks that would commonly come with outdated TLS protocols, and then determine how the penetration tester could then attack that particular domain and be able to execute attacks against it. The final requirement is the domain vulnerability scanner, and this requirement alone could take up my entire time with this project just due to the wide range of paths that we could take. For the means of this project, we did focus on primarily the cross-site scripting and SQL injection defects, and this is just because, like I said, the time constraints and the scope of the project required us to focus on those. It will detect these based on a number of different ways. It does require the sitemap to be built for the web domain in order to save that time when it does get to this point of having to crawl through the entire site. It basically, when it finds a page in the format it's going to be submitting to, it will send many requests trying to determine if those are open to defect or not. And once it has located an area that potentially is vulnerable to one of these defects, it will flag that particular page or section of that page for the penetration tester to look at a later point. It's not meant to be an authority on whether or not that particular section of code is truly a vulnerability. It's more or less meant to be a tool to aid the penetration tester to focus their attention on that particular area. Alright, so those are the different requirements. As far as testing, we are going to be building the test cases using the use cases from the software requirements. Each use case will then be converted into a test case to be used on an automated testing framework. The tests will be automated and will be run through a C# framework to automate these tests to make sure that as each commit is made to the project, that nothing is breaking. It will be used as a regression testing format. For the testing purposes, there will be a test web server running on the local host for the machine with predetermined results that it's expecting. And as different features are developed for the project, it will compare those results to the expected results that we would have previously set up. And like I said, it will be used for regression testing to ensure that future changes to the software do not break past functionality. So in summary, this is not meant to be a penetration testing software in and of itself. It's meant to aid penetration testers in their other activities as they test the domains in the different infrastructure that they're attempting to work on. It is meant to be used in conjunction with other tools, meaning that it's definitely not meant to be an authority on whether or not a web application is secure or not. It's meant to automate certain tasks to aid the penetration tester in making his job easier. One of the requirements is that it must abide by the robots.txt file on the target domain that it is parsing. The robots.txt file is primarily used to specify which parts of the website are allowed to be crawled by a web crawler or a web spider. And there is different types of these, and they can have different rules. So whatever those rules specify for our type of web crawler, we must abide by them to keep this legal and above board. The vulnerability scanner, just due to the nature of how we are posting malicious type requests against the web domain, it is only to be used with the domain owner's permission, just because it could be considered malicious, the type of actions we are taking against the domain. So that part of the web application analyzer is required to have written permission before targeting a particular domain. So this has been the design and requirements stage, the first part of the project. We are complete with that as the semester draws to a close, so construction will be beginning shortly as we enter into the second semester, and we'll start actually implementing some of these features and bringing this project to life. We definitely look forward to seeing that, and I look forward to showing it to you in the near future. Thank you for watching.